Your soulmate is about to confess everything. They think this is their last chance. My beloved child, something has shifted inside your soulmate, and this time they cannot pretend that their feelings are small enough to keep hidden. There is something they have wanted to tell you for far longer than you realize, something they kept pushing deeper into silence every time they almost found the courage to reveal it. But now they believe the moment they have been waiting for may be disappearing. They think this could be their last chance to finally confess everything. And what makes this moment so powerful is that their confession is not only about how deeply they feel about you. There is another truth underneath it, a truth connected to why they became distant, why they hesitated, and why their energy seemed to change whenever you started pulling yours away. Don't skip, because the part they have been hiding from you changes the meaning of everything that happened between you. Your soulmate has been replaying certain moments again and again, wondering whether you noticed the things they could never say aloud. They remember the smallest details about you. A sentence you probably forgot. A moment when your expression changed. The way your presence made them feel understood without requiring them to explain themselves. They tried convincing themselves that these feelings would eventually become quieter, but the opposite happened. The more they tried to move forward without speaking, the more obvious one truth became: you were not becoming easier to forget. You were becoming harder to ignore. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and their biggest confession is not the one you would expect. They have realized that their silence may have made you believe they did not care enough, when the truth inside them was completely different. And now they are wondering whether they waited too long. There is one particular realization that changed everything for them. Your soulmate suddenly understood that while they were waiting for the perfect moment, you were changing. You were becoming stronger. More certain about what you deserve. Less willing to wait forever for someone who could not clearly choose you. And that realization shook something awake inside them. For the first time, they could imagine you continuing your life without waiting for their answer. They could imagine someone else recognizing the qualities in you that they had quietly treasured. And suddenly all those words they kept saving for someday felt impossible to keep inside. Don't skip. This is where their hidden truth begins opening. Your soulmate never wanted you to think you were unimportant. In fact, part of their hesitation came from the opposite feeling. You mattered so much that saying the wrong thing felt enormous to them. They questioned whether they were ready. They questioned whether you could still feel the connection. They questioned whether revealing everything would bring you closer or expose feelings they had carefully protected. But something inside them has changed now. They would rather finally be truthful than continue wondering what could have happened. And here is the surprising part: they have already imagined the conversation. They have imagined looking at you and finally admitting that there were moments when they almost reached out. Moments when they typed words and erased them. Moments when they wanted to explain why they became quiet but convinced themselves to wait a little longer. Yet every delay created another distance between what they felt and what you could actually see. Stay till the end, because the next realization is the one they cannot escape anymore. They understand that you cannot respond to feelings you were never allowed to see. You cannot understand a truth someone keeps hidden. And now your soulmate knows that if they want a real chance with you, silence can no longer speak for them, but there is something even deeper behind this confession, something they themselves only recently understood. Your soulmate is not simply preparing to tell you that they care. They are preparing to admit that knowing you changed the way they understand connection itself. Before you, they may have believed that meaningful feelings should always be easy to control, that time could quiet anything, that distance could make emotions disappear. Then you entered their inner world, and those old beliefs stopped making sense. Your absence could still make them think of your presence. Silence. There is a reason your soulmate has been unusually quiet, and it is not because their feelings disappeared. Something inside them has been building every time they remember you, every time an old moment returns to their mind, and every time they imagine what could happen if they remain silent for too long. They have reached a point where pretending everything is normal no longer feels possible. Don't skip, because the confession forming in their heart is much bigger than 3 simple words. They want to tell you why they pulled back when they wanted to come closer. They want to explain why certain moments between you affected them more deeply than they ever showed. And most of all, they want you to know that behind their silence was a truth they were almost afraid to admit to themselves. You became far more important to them than they ever planned. Something huge is waiting for you, because they have been replaying one particular memory, and that memory changed the way they see your entire connection. It was a small moment on the outside, something you may not even remember clearly, but to them it became proof that what they felt was different. From that moment forward, they could no longer place you in the same category as everyone else. Your presence stayed with them after conversations ended. Your words returned when the room became quiet. Even when they tried to focus elsewhere, something kept bringing their thoughts back to you. And now they are asking themselves a question they can no longer ignore. What if I lose my chance because I waited too long? Stay till the end, because what they are preparing to admit next is the part they have hidden the longest. Your soulmate believed silence would protect their heart, but instead it made their feelings clearer. The more distance they created, the more they understood exactly what your presence meant to them. That is the surprising truth. They did not discover how strongly they felt when everything seemed close and easy. They discovered it in the spaces between you. They noticed how different ordinary days felt without your energy around them. They noticed how certain songs, places, conversations, and tiny details suddenly reminded them of you. But don't skip, because there is another layer they have never explained. At one point, they almost convinced themselves to leave everything unspoken forever. They thought perhaps timing had already decided the story. Then something shifted. A realization came so clearly that they could no longer hide behind uncertainty. If they never tell you the truth, they may spend years wondering what would have happened if they had simply been brave enough to speak. That thought changed everything. Now the confession is no longer about getting a perfect response. It is about finally being completely real with you. They want to tell you what they noticed about you from the beginning. They want to reveal the moment their curiosity became attachment, the moment attachment became something deeper, and why they kept those emotions hidden even when part of them desperately wanted you to notice. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is one sentence they have imagined saying to you again and again, yet every time they get close to expressing it, they stop. Not because the sentence is complicated, but because once they say it, there will be no returning to the comfortable silence that existed before. And this is where everything begins to turn. Your soulmate is realizing that what they called hesitation may actually have been fear of how meaningful this connection had become. They were waiting for certainty, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for some unmistakable sign that speaking would be easier than staying quiet. But now they understand that the perfect moment may never arrive on its own. Sometimes a person has to create that moment by finally saying what has been sitting inside their heart. Stay till the end, because they are closer to that moment than they have ever been. Their confession carries more than feelings, it carries explanations. Things that once confused you may suddenly make sense. Moments when they seemed distant, moments when they almost said something and changed the subject, moments when their energy seemed different around you, they have reasons behind them. And the once-in-a-lifetime revelation is that they may have been feeling this connection far longer than you imagined. They simply became very good at hiding its depth. But that ability is fading now. Don't skip. Their heart is pushing against every excuse their mind once created, and one truth keeps becoming louder: they do not want their final memory of this connection to be something they never had the courage to express. They believe this could be their last real chance to let you see what has been hidden behind the silence. And when they finally open that door, the first thing they reveal may not be what you expected at all, because before they tell you how deeply they feel, they need to confess what made them hide those feelings in the first place. There is one truth your soulmate has never been able to say clearly, and now it keeps returning to their mind with impossible intensity. They did not become distant because you meant too little to them. They became uncertain because you began to mean more than they knew how to handle. That is the secret behind so many confusing moments. Every time they felt themselves getting closer emotionally, another part of them started wondering what would happen if they revealed everything and discovered that the timing was wrong. So they waited. They watched. They kept important words hidden behind ordinary conversations. But don't skip, because something has happened inside their thinking that has completely changed the situation. They are no longer asking, "What happens if I confess?" Now they are asking, "What happens if I never do?" And that question has become much stronger than their hesitation. They have started remembering all the moments when you gave them an opportunity to be honest without even realizing it. A look. A conversation. A quiet pause when they could have said everything. They remember those moments differently now because they can finally see how many chances passed while they were waiting for certainty. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has realized that the thing they were searching for was already there. They wanted proof that this connection mattered, but the proof was in the fact that after all this time, their feelings kept returning to you. Other thoughts came and disappeared. Other distractions filled their days temporarily. But somehow, your memory remained. And that realization has made their next decision almost impossible to avoid. What they want to confess now goes deeper than attraction, curiosity, or missing someone. Your soulmate wants to admit that there were times when they secretly imagined what life might feel like if the distance between you disappeared completely. They imagined conversations where neither of you had to hide behind uncertainty. They imagined being able to tell you the smallest details of their day because somehow those details seemed more meaningful when shared with you. And here comes the surprising part: they even imagined how they would explain everything that happened before this moment. Don't skip, because that explanation contains the truth they protected the longest. They know there were times when their behavior may have sent you the opposite message from what they actually felt. When they wanted to come closer, they sometimes stepped back. When they wanted to say something meaningful, they sometimes became quieter. When they noticed themselves caring more deeply, they tried to appear unaffected. They thought controlling what you could see would help them control what they felt. It did not. Instead, every unspoken feeling became another sentence waiting to be confessed. Something huge is waiting for you because now they understand that silence has a cost. If they continue hiding, you may eventually believe there is nothing left to wait for. And that possibility has awakened something powerful in them. For perhaps the first time, they are willing to let you see the part of them they kept carefully protected. Not a perfect version. Not a rehearsed version. The real one. The one that remembers you unexpectedly. The one that wonders whether you still think about them. The one that has wanted to ask you a question but kept stopping before the words could come out. And that question may become the turning point of everything. Your soulmate does not only want to tell you what they feel, they want to know whether there is still room for honesty between you. Stay till the end, because they believe this could be the last chance to find out before life begins moving both of you in different directions. That is why the confession suddenly feels so important to them. They are realizing that waiting forever is also a decision, and it may be the one decision they regret most. Don't skip. There is still one enormous piece they have not revealed, and it explains why this moment feels so different from every previous moment. Recently, they imagined you completely letting go of the connection. Not waiting. Not wondering. Not looking backward. And instead of feeling relieved, something inside them immediately resisted that picture. That reaction told them everything they had been avoiding. They do not want to become a forgotten chapter in your story simply because they were too hesitant to speak while they still had the opportunity. So the walls are coming down. The carefully hidden emotions are becoming harder to disguise. The sentences they once deleted are returning to their mind. And somewhere inside them, the confession is already beginning. But the biggest revelation has still not been spoken, because there is one specific reason they believe this is their last chance, and once that reason comes into the light, everything you thought you understood about their silence may suddenly look completely different. Something your soulmate recently realized has made waiting feel completely different. They finally understood why this moment feels like their last chance. They can sense that you are no longer standing emotionally in the same place where they left you. You have been changing quietly. Your energy has become less focused on unanswered questions and more focused on your own direction. And whether they can explain it or not, they feel that shift. Don't skip, because this is exactly what awakened the confession they kept postponing. For so long, they believed there would always be another opportunity, another conversation, another perfect moment when everything would become easier to say. But now they are realizing that opportunities do not remain open forever. They have begun looking back at the moments when you were patient with their uncertainty and wondering whether they misunderstood just how precious that patience was. They remember when you seemed willing to understand them without demanding perfect answers. They remember the warmth they felt around you. And suddenly those memories no longer feel like ordinary memories. They feel like something they should have valued more openly while it was happening. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that the greatest thing standing between you was never a lack of feeling. It was everything they refused to communicate. That realization is powerful because it removes the excuse they have carried for so long. They cannot keep expecting you to understand words they never said. They cannot expect you to recognize feelings they constantly disguised. And they cannot keep hoping you will wait while they remain uncertain. So now, instead of preparing another small hint, they are preparing something much more direct. They want to finally put the entire truth in front of you and allow you to decide what it means, but there is a revelation hidden inside that truth that could explain almost everything. Your soulmate has been comparing who they were before meeting you with who they became afterward, and the difference surprised them. Certain things they once considered important suddenly became less meaningful. Certain qualities they once overlooked became exactly what they started appreciating because they recognized them in you. Your way of thinking, your presence, your emotional depth, even the little things you probably assume nobody notices, they noticed more than they ever admitted. Don't skip, because this is where their confession becomes deeply personal. They have been carrying memories of you that you may have completely forgotten. Something you said casually became a sentence they remembered later. A small kindness stayed with them. A moment when you were simply being yourself became one of the reasons they started seeing you differently. They never told you because admitting those details would have revealed how closely they were paying attention. But now hiding them feels pointless. They want you to understand that what developed inside them was not created in one dramatic instant. It happened quietly, layer by layer, until one day they realized you had become connected to thoughts about their future. Something huge is waiting for you, because that realization frightened them at first. Suddenly this was no longer a passing emotion they could simply ignore. It represented possibility. It represented vulnerability. It represented choosing someone and allowing that choice to matter. That is why they hesitated. Yet the same thing that once made them step backward is now pulling them forward. They have realized that meaningful connections cannot grow through endless silence. At some point, somebody has to become brave enough to tell the truth. And your soulmate believes that moment has arrived. They are no longer imagining a perfect confession where every sentence sounds flawless. They are imagining something real. A conversation where they finally admit that they handled certain moments badly, that they hid things they should have expressed, and that their silence never represented the full truth of their heart. Stay till the end, because there is still something they have not allowed themselves to say, even privately, without feeling overwhelmed by what it could mean. They want another chance, not necessarily to repeat the past, but to show you the version of themselves that no longer wants to hide behind hesitation. Don't skip. This is where everything becomes more intense. Your soulmate knows they cannot control how you will respond, and strangely, they are beginning to accept that. Their greatest fear is no longer hearing an answer they did not expect. Their greatest fear is never asking the question at all. They would rather let you finally know the truth than spend another chapter wondering whether honesty could have changed everything. And there is one final secret beneath all of this, something they have protected even more carefully than their feelings. It involves the exact moment they realized they could genuinely lose their place in your life. That moment changed their entire perspective. It made every excuse feel smaller, every delay feel heavier, and every hidden word feel more urgent. Something huge is waiting for you, because once that moment is revealed, you will understand why your soulmate suddenly believes there may be no tomorrow for silence, and why the confession they are preparing could be the most complete truth they have ever allowed you to see. The moment your soulmate finally understood they could lose their place in your life was quieter than you might imagine. There was no dramatic announcement, no perfect sign, no single conversation explaining everything. It was simply a realization that arrived when they pictured you becoming completely happy without needing an answer from them. And suddenly, they understood something they had avoided for far too long: your life would continue whether they confessed or remained silent. Don't skip, because that thought unlocked the truth they had been protecting. They realized you were never supposed to remain frozen while they searched endlessly for courage. You have dreams, possibilities, and an entire future waiting for you. And for the first time, they seriously wondered whether their hesitation had already pushed you toward a different chapter. That possibility made every hidden feeling rise at once. They remembered the conversations they wished they had continued. They remembered the moments when they almost became completely honest and then pulled their words back. They remembered how many times they assumed there would always be another chance. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate has finally stopped believing that time alone will solve what only honesty can solve. They know that if they want you to understand what has truly been happening inside them, they have to speak. Not through hints. Not through confusing signals. Not through silence that leaves you guessing. They want to tell you clearly that their distance never erased what they felt. In fact, the distance revealed something unexpected to them: they were not simply missing your presence. They were missing the version of themselves that appeared when they felt genuinely connected to you. And this is where their confession becomes even bigger. Your soulmate has realized that you influenced them without trying to. Something about knowing you forced them to examine what they truly wanted from a meaningful connection. They started questioning old patterns, old assumptions, and even the reasons they had kept their emotions so carefully guarded. Don't skip. There is a surprising truth underneath everything. Part of them believed they needed to become completely ready before they could approach you honestly. They wanted every uncertainty solved first. They wanted to know exactly what to say and exactly what would happen afterward. But feelings do not arrive with perfect instructions. Now they understand that waiting to become completely fearless could mean waiting forever. Something huge is waiting for you because they have reached a different kind of courage, the courage to speak without knowing the ending. They are preparing to admit that they thought about you during moments when you probably assumed they had forgotten. They are preparing to explain why certain memories stayed unusually vivid. They may even reveal that some of their biggest personal realizations happened because they imagined what they would say if you suddenly stood in front of them and asked, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" That question has been echoing inside them. And every answer leads back to the same truth: they were afraid that admitting how much you mattered would make everything real. But now the possibility of never telling you feels heavier than the possibility of being vulnerable. Stay till the end, because they have one confession left that goes beyond everything you have heard so far. Your soulmate has secretly wondered whether you already knew. Whether you noticed the pauses, the changed energy, the moments when their words said one thing while their attention seemed to say something completely different. And now they are wondering whether you eventually stopped trying to understand because they gave you too little to hold on to. Don't skip, because this realization is changing the way they want to approach you. They do not want to arrive with another mystery. They want clarity. They want to take responsibility for what they left unsaid and finally reveal the complete story behind their hesitation. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is one sentence they have resisted more than any other. It is not simply, "I missed you." It is not simply,